Hello enthusiasts, and welcome back to the Cruiser Racer channel. This week on Behind the Brand, I want to dive deep into the mission of the Cruiser Racer brand and talk about sustainability within the bicycle industry as well as with the Cruiser Racer brand and how I choose to build the e-bikes. Let's get into that. Invested in my education and willingness to gain experience and dedication to developing skills. This is the journey behind the Cruiser Racer electric bike brand. Well, during that time that I took off from creating content, I took the time to basically reflect on the mission, the purpose of what Cruiser Racer is all about. Why did I create this brand? It's always good to just go back to the basics. Sometimes throughout the year, as you're steaming ahead and you got your head down and you're working, you kind of forget about what the mission is all about, what the purpose is for, and can sometimes seem meaningless if you don't go back and just come back to ground zero. What is it? The purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? That helped to remotivate me, helped to reboost my energy as for what I needed to do moving forward. And I spent that time really preparing for this year, 2022. All the different moves that I wanted to make and things that I wanted to achieve. I can't do it if I have no direction. I need a compass, and that's what I did. I set myself up. I drew out myself a map and a compass to keep myself in line with all my goals and everything that I want to do for 2022 and moving forward. With that said, when asking yourself what you're doing and reestablishing those principles, I like to think about the book Start With Why, written by Simon Sinek. And with that, I always start with why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? So why? Why create Cruiser Racer electric bike brand? Well, I want to live in a world with less automobile waste and more light electric mobile sustainability. That's just it. I want to see a world with less cars. Automobiles were a great invention for the 20th century. It got people from out of countrysides into more condensed places like cities where they could trade and have access to things that they wouldn't have access to because not very much communication. The telephone was the one source of communication. There was no postal services during those times. And that's what the automobile did. But we're in a different world now. We're in a different time where we could reach one another via a internet connection. We don't need as many automobiles on the road right now because of as many that we have on the road. We have issues with climate, we have issues with pollution because of the waste of all the automobiles and parts and things that we can no longer use that just go in the landfills or, wherever. We don't need as many automobiles, but all the same, there are just as many, if not more, bicycles on this planet than there are automobiles. And don't get me wrong, I do believe that there is a serious waste issue along in the bicycle industry. But the mission for Cruiser Racer is to make more mobile, sustainable light electric vehicles. And that is with recycling, with using things that are already here instead of creating more. And I'll get more into that as I move forward with this episode or with this talk. But I do realize that there is waste in all the industries. And I want to see a world, create the world that I want to live in the future. And I plan to do that because I do have values. I do have morals that and standards that I plan to abide by and operate by with this brand. So that's the why. Hey, you. Oh, me? Yes, you. Do you enjoy the content on this channel? Would you like to help us grow? Well, finger the like button and subscribe to this channel. The YouTube algorithm likes to reward these types of behaviors, so don't hold back. Thanks for your support. Now, back to the show. If there's one thing that I most certainly know, that if I enjoy riding light electric vehicles, such as electric bikes or scooters, there are millions of others that will as well. The benefits that I get from having an electric bike over owning an automobile, and the freedom that I have because I don't have the burden of having such a liability of an automobile, is priceless. Best way I can explain it. So how does this all work? Well, first, when I started building e-bikes, I had very little experience with building bikes at all. I thought all that you needed to do, it's a lot of water rushing in the background, small building, that's what it is though. Anyhow, I thought that all you had to do was simply assemble a bike out of the box, that you got it, whatever store you got it from or online store you got it from, and that was pretty much it. Knew nothing about brakes, knew nothing about cables, about casing, derailleurs, alignments, or truing, anything, terms, or any maintenance that came with a bicycle, I knew nothing about. And I didn't even know much about the motors or the batteries that I bought in order to put this bike together. One thing that definitely became a model for me whenever I buy something for myself, something to own, and it's going to be a pricey amount, the item is a big ticket item, I need to know everything there is about it. I need to know how to fix it, how it works, because it doesn't make sense to own something that you yourself can't diagnose or maintenance or fix or maintain. It makes no sense. You might as well just flush money down the drain. If you can't fix it and you have to wind up paying hundreds of dollars to get your bike, toy, whatever, because that's what they are. They're like adult toys. Your bikes, your automobiles, they're just adult toys. I mean, let's just be real. If you don't know how to fix them, I don't know what you're doing with yourself. You should know these things, especially if you're gonna spend that much money. So I myself make it a point of knowing everything about whatever it is that I own, because I need to know how to fix it. I need to know how it works. I need to know how to save myself money. That's just it. So how do I plan on bringing this forward? Well, One, learn. Learn everything there was to know about bicycles. Everything about frames, everything about parts, components, companies, brands that supply these parts and components for bikes, the best ones to use. Yeah. Number one. Two, know everything about the electric components that I'm using, such as the battery, such as the controllers that support the motors, knowing the motors, everything. And that was how I plan to do it was learn everything about the industry and then put out the absolute most best bikes that I could possibly put out. My niche are electric cruisers and cafe racer bicycles, hence the name of this company, hence the name of this brand, Cruiser Racer Electric Bikes. I plan to put out the absolute best that there is. But the way I plan on doing it, it's the icing on the cake. And that is the what coming up next. Today's sponsor is Cruiser Racer. Cruiser Racer is more than just a channel on YouTube. It is an entire platform based on electric bike building and enthusiasm. The first way you can help support this channel is by liking this video and subscribing. And if you'd like to go a little further, check out our store on Teesprings. In the store, you'll find authentic eye-popping designs from the Cruiser Racer and Electron Rebels line. This is a great way to support this channel and help us grow. So head on over to the store and check out our designs today. Now back to the show. As a citizen of the earth, do you ever find yourself wondering, what is it that you can do to help preserve our climate, to preserve what we have here on earth? Because I do. And it's such a huge responsibility to think about. It's such a big task to wrap your head around, because you can't do everything. But doing something, if we all did something, that's definitely a good start into reversing the damage that we've done to make our climate so unstable right now. So what is it that, I can do? What is it that Cruiser Racer can do as a brand? That's the question. And what I came up with was something simple, something that I already knew I needed to do. And that was creating appealing electric bikes that uses 70 to 100% recycled parts, components, materials. That's what I can do. So at Cruiser Racer, as I said, sustainability. There is already so much waste out there when it comes to the bicycle industry. There's millions, if not billions, of bikes on the planet, on Earth. And that's dating all the way back from the invention of the bicycle. There are so many bikes on Earth. And the best way to combat what we're facing in our climate is to use things that are already here. Yes, I could learn how to, and which I will learn eventually, but as I learn, I could go ahead and start to create my own frames and get frames manufactured with a company and put out more pollution. And because we have to use fossil fuels to create these things as it is right now. So I could go ahead and continue to contribute to the problems that they're already mounting with manufacturing, or I could use what's already available. So that's what I'm doing. Cruiser Racer, I will be building e-bikes with majority of recycled materials. That be bike frames, parts, everything that comes along with it. 70 to 100% recycled material. And that is what we will do as a company. So that's the why, the how, and the what. And I'm proud. I'm very satisfied with the mission and the direction of this company because I value this planet. I value my home, Earth. I value this place. I want to see it here for millions of years after I'm gone. And the thing is that it will be. The harm that you and I do to this planet is minimal. There's nothing that we could really do to destroy Earth. To think that we could, come on, who do we really think we are, right? But a livable atmosphere, a livable climate for generations of human beings to continue on, because we're not all bad, you know? Human beings are not all bad. Misguided, maybe a species with amnesia, but we're not all bad. We can continue on. We can continue going if we have proper education and learn how to live with our environment instead of fighting it. So I want to see us continue on. I would like to be a part of that by producing something that people can use that will help to reduce and reverse the damage that we've done. All right, so the theme for Cruiser Racer this year is sustainable building. And that's just not the theme for this year. It is going to be the way we move forward. It is our motto, I should say. It is what we are modeled after, sustainable building. And with that said, I want to talk a little bit about the amounts that I've spent on previous builds, starting with the Cruiser. The Cruiser was the 2020 model for Cruiser Racer electric bikes. It was the first build for the brand, and it is definitely one of my favorite builds to date. It was the most interesting. So with the Cruiser, and I'm going to go ahead and put on screen what it is that I'm looking at here in my hand. All right, so the Cruiser, I would like to say that this was a sustainably built bike, but it was not. This was my first build, and I pretty much sourced the majority of all of these things online. And I don't really believe there was any of these things that I bought from a department store or a co-op store such as Second Cycle. Everything here, from the battery, the motor, the bike, yeah, grand total of this project was $815.37. Yeah, everything was pretty much new. But on the second build, the Smoke Racer build, I did source a few things from Second Cycle. That is the cable and housing, the RockShox fork, the threadless headset, spacers. I got the install with Second Cycle. Grabbed some fenders and pedals from them as well, and the bike. The bike was $165.35. It's a Specialized hard rock bicycle. It was a very great frame, steel frame, perfect for building the racer on. Yeah, those were the things that I sourced. Say that's about $200, almost $300, maybe a little more than $300 worth of recycled materials. And out of all that, you know, I spent a grand total of $934.27 for this build, with about a third of that being recycled material. I did a lot better. Now, just to do better with the Crosser build. Now, the next build is a 2022 Crosser. I call it a Crosser because it is a cross between electric racer and the electric cafe racer It is a mix between the two that I've built already. Now I wanted to go with a hybrid between the two because there's great things that both models offer that needed to be in just one bike. So moving forward, I've got 3 models. Cruiser Racer has 3 models for this brand. And after building the 2022 Crosser, I want to go into making more bikes for other people. So that's going on into 2023. I've got more AmeriCorps service to do. There's more things to learn that will help to build this brand out the way that I foresee it happening, the vision that I have for it, and it's a grand one. And I look forward to showing you how all this unravels as we continue on the Behind the Brand series. But for now, and start looking at the parts that I've accumulated, I've gathered for this next build. I'm very excited. I recently brought home, I want to say, half of the necessary parts to get this done, maybe a little more than half of the necessary parts. And then I'm going to get into what else I need to collect so that I can feel comfortable with starting to put this bike together. Then there's also challenges too. So let's get into that. All right, so here we go with the bike here on the stand. This is the 2022 Crosser frame. This is a Schwinn Cruiser 6, as you can see. I love the shape and the contour of this bike. The triangle here in the middle is, I just love the contour of it. I love how this here bows over, and the way this here it's gonna be challenging. I haven't quite yet figured out what I'm gonna do for this mid part. I do know that I want to put everything there is about like the motor, or not the motor, the controller and battery right in this space. So that's going to be interesting to work with. So one thing that's got to change off top is the crank. The crank has to change because there's no way this here is a one-piece crank. It's pretty much it's like a one whole piece here, and then it goes in through the middle, through the bracket here, and this here. It's a one-piece crank, say American style bottom bracket, and I'm going to get rid of that because there's nothing I can do with this. I cannot put a pedal assist on that American style one-piece bottom brackets for conversion kits, so that goes right away. Don't want that on there. I've taken off the saddle. It wasn't a bad saddle, actually. This is that black saddle right there. It was a nice cushy saddle for it. It's just not the style that I wanted. I'll probably be able to repurpose that sometime in the future, but yeah, that's not the one that I'm using. And the handlebar, I actually do like the style of the handlebar. This is a definitely a classic beach cruiser handlebar, and you know, there's nothing wrong with it. It just won't be working for what I'm doing here. So yeah, it's a different type of look I'm looking for with this, and this isn't gonna work. So that's gotta go. Gotta change out the cable and housing here. This is if you look here, let me see. Well, it's not that it looks bad at all, but there's cracking here on the housing. It's pretty much worn, and sadly this is all internal cable routing and housing. You can see there's even more right there. It's starting to rust, but this is internal routing, and I'm definitely not going to be doing this again. Chances are there is no tunneling that can get me out into, yeah, chances are there isn't. It's an older Schwinn, and I'm certain that there is no way that I can fish another housing and cable in there without it getting lost and it taking up the majority of my day to make it happen. So I'm not going to work, or I'm not going to do that. Besides the fact that, let me see if I can get it visually to show what I'm looking at here. Look at that right there. Just look at that. Like, even it going into here, it's the frame is still ripping the cable apart, or the housing apart. The casing on it, it gets caught off by the rough frame, and this is stupid to me. So mine's just going back out on the outside. I will not be doing any internal routing. This is not at all okay. This is terrible. It's just terrible. Look at that. It just cracks all over the place. It's not sustainable. It doesn't work. So this is not happening. I'm not doing that. I'm going to go ahead and route it on the outside. Yeah. Derailleur's fine. Looks like it's good. It worked pretty well. It's got some good bounce to it. It's a 7-speed derailleur. We got 7 speeds here. So yeah, I'm not too thrilled about the grip shift. I can't stand them anymore. I really don't like these things anymore. They're a pain. Getting rid of that. So let's get down here to business. I'm very satisfied with what I've collected so far. As you can see, I've already got a motor. This motor was actually free. This is a 1000 watt 48 amp hour motor that came with a bike that someone was missing parts to. I've also got a computer, a set of lights, some e-bike brake pads, set of pedals, a crank set, and a triple tree, 3-tree fork. Got these monkey handlebars, this vintage leather seat. I've also got a battery plate already. And this is more than half of the things that I already need in place. So as I said, I'm very satisfied. This build is coming together very well, and you'll be surprised at how little it has already cost me. 3-trees are like my favorite types of forks. Seriously. And I want to put one on this bike, but this one isn't going to work. Reason being, the dropouts. The dropouts are too small. I can't size of these dropouts. Size of these dropouts compared to the size of the axle that needs to go inside of it. The axle on electric bike conversion motors are massive for some reason. And I can understand, like, they kind of actually have to be large because of the size of the motor that they're holding. So I get it, right? But the axles are massive. Here is the axle going on the e-bike. Like, here is the conversion. Look at the size. This is a decently huge axle compared to say compared to this axle. You got this axle. There's a rear axle which go with those dropouts in the back here, and in the front as well. But you got this skinny axle here, right? And then that's for a standard wheel, for standard size wheel. And then this is the axle for an e-bike. It's just significantly larger, and you need to have the size dropouts to fit it. I can try to modify the dropouts. I've seen people file the inside of the dropouts to make them wider and to fit a hub, or to fit an axle that large, but I'm not doing that. It's a lot of work. I'm just gonna find the right fork for it. So I gotta get back online and find another fork, because I know for sure the shop doesn't have a triple tree fork. I was lucky finding that one that I found, and I know the shop doesn't have another triple tree fork that I can use for this build, so I gotta look online, unfortunately. But that fork now can go on the Racer. the racer can now get that fork, and I'm excited about changing it for the racer at least. So yeah, that's something to look forward to, right?